welcome to the HACCP Academy, and today in our fourth mix for the HACCP plan we're actually going to look at how we create monitoring procedures and then actually look at corrective actions. It's best to watch this mix in sequence, so if you haven't seen the first three mixes, have a look up there. We've got the intro, we've got principle 1 and principle 2 and 3, and in this mix today we're going to look at the principle 4, establish monitoring procedures. So we're going to actually look at examples of monitoring procedures and how to add monitoring procedures actually into your form. Then looking at principle 5, establish corrective actions, and here we're actually going to describe it. We're going to look at those corrective actions and completing the template that you're doing in class. So let's go. So let's have a look at how we establish monitoring procedures. First, we're going to look at what is going to be monitored. Then we're going to look at when will the monitoring actually occur, who's going to perform the monitoring, and finally, how will it be monitored. To give you a better idea, I'm going to give you some examples of monitoring procedures. The first that we use mostly in restaurants is the temperature checks. In some labs, they'll actually measure the chlorine concentration in water, or measuring the pH level, and finally measuring the salt concentration in the actual food. This mix has been designed to actually help you do your HACCP template in class. So we're actually going to add the monitoring procedures. So we're going to look at the what, the when, the who, and the how. Before you actually put the corrective actions, we need to describe with an example how we could actually look at corrective actions. I've given you the example of a mountain bike. So you'll notice here that we might predict when we go off-road that we might need to change a tire. So we actually take some tools to help us. Now this is predictable. If we actually get a flat tire, the corrective action there is to actually take the tire off, have a look at the inner tube, and if we can repair it, then we'll be able to keep riding. But there are times when you will actually be on the ride and you'll have something unpredictable that will happen within the process of riding around. Now here, I would not ride through here as this is filling up, so we would actually a corrective action would go back and around. And this happens in the HACCP process with food, where there are certain things that we can predict and we can change throughout the process to keep food safe. And sometimes there are parts of the process that we just have to fix as we go along. And with HACCP, it's very important that we are looking at corrective actions to keep the food safe. All right, well, let's look at the components of a corrective action. First of all, we're going to discontinue the process because something's happened or a critical limit at the critical control point has either been higher or lower than what we need. We're actually going to isolate that suspect product, then make an adjustment. So what that means is we'll either move that out so that we can keep going with the process, ensuring that we have safe food. Now, if that food is not safe, it's actually going to be disposed, and then we need to document the corrective action that we have taken in this particular, and the follow-up to review the HACCP plan. Maybe we need to change the critical control point or the critical limit to keep the food safe. So now let's bring that knowledge back to your template that you're doing right now. So we're actually going to add the corrective actions. We're then going to add how we're actually going to record that procedure. So let's look at an example. This is the one that we've had from the last mix. So we're looking at preparing chicken. We've got the what, how, when, and who. The critical limits have been set, that they must be started under 5, prepared within 20 minutes, and stored under 5 degrees. Now the corrective actions if the critical limit is not kept. The food handler will notify the chef supervisor. And this is really important to consider, that with corrective actions, there'll be levels of authority that are actually put in. Some will be at a higher level, some will be at a lower level, and this really depends on the hospitality establishment. Isolate and remove the suspect problem, and then check all chicken products and reject if the critical limit is not correct. And then the way we would record this is through the templates that you'll find in what you're doing for your HACCP plan. I hope this has been very helpful. This is the 4th mix in the series. I hope that as we go through, you're going to start to see this HACCP plan come together in a way that's going to be much easier for you to understand the overall concepts. The next one we will be doing is actually looking at reporting procedures. Can't wait for that. See you next time at the HACCP Academy.